My name is Azra. Uh, I have 7+ years of experience. So I also involved in the data warehousing. I do the end-to-end from the data warehousing to the business intelligence implementation. I've been working on Qlikview for last 5 years. With that, I also work on ETL, as I said, on Informatica and enterprise data warehousing solutions. I use predominantly I have worked with SAP and Oracle, and yeah, it's been a long way for me.
Okay.
The Qlikview, as you know, it's an emerging tool, so it has been a very fast emerging tool. It's been ranked in the Gartner report for a long time, like last 4 consecutive years. It is in the Magic Quadrant, and it is doing good.
Yeah.
The kind of the best BI tool at this point of time, where people have started accepting it.
Right.
There are 30,000+ customers, and all these big enterprise level customers are deploying Qlikview for business intelligence. So why it has become a famous is, if you look at the traditional architecture, the current BI or whatever, the BI, traditional BI is what we refer to. So the IT is the main important role player. So it prepares the data, it governs the data, it does the ETL, it creates the data warehouse, and it also creates the reports that the customer requests. So if a business users request certain kind of reports, if the business users request reports, they have to go back to the IT department, tell them what the requirement is. Based on that, the IT department creates the reports. So there's a long process of it, and the people get lost in it, and the business users don't get what they expect out of it. So Qlikview changed the way it is. They minimize the IT role. When I say IT, I mean the administrators or the pure IT people. So, and it enables the business users to do a lot of things. The IT is fairly involved in the data governance, data connection, security, and setting up the platform. But the business users are enabled to do the analysis, create the reports, do dynamic, like see the live data or change anything. Qlikview can actually connect to any data source, so there's absolutely no challenge for it. And you don't need to have a data warehouse. If you have a data warehouse, Qlikview sits on it and can be more powerful. It's not more powerful. Basically, it becomes easier for deployment because you already have a data warehouse. You just refer to it. In case you don't have a data warehouse, still Qlikview is very simple and easy to use. It will connect to multiple data sources and give you an self-analysis option. Qlikview works on HTML5. It's not built using HTML5, but the business users, it is deployed, works on HTML5, so business users can access it on any mobile device which has a browser, HTML5 compatible browser. The entire platform of Qlikview is very simple. So if you look at it, so this is the entire platform when we go for a deployment. So you have the database layer, that is the data access layer. So the application layer, Qlikview has 2 components to it. One is the Qlikview server, one is the publisher. Server is the heart of the entire platform. It's a software. Basically, you install it on a physical server. So this software controls, manages all the documents and applications. Qlikview is an app-based model software. It is not one suite which has everything in it. So you get to purchase the software. Once you do it, you get the server. On the server, you can host a suite of applications. So I'll explain what an application is later. So you connect to the database, extract the data, and create one application. Suppose finance. So you connect to your data, several data sources from where all finance data is available. You extract it, you create one application with various analysis, and you put that onto the Qlikview server. From the Qlikview server, the users access it through the browsers. Now the documents, that the data that we are referring to, goes into the RAM of the Qlikview server. That's why it's called as an in-memory analytics. So when the users access the Qlikview server, they will be accessing the RAM of the server. So the documents are already in the RAM, the data is in the RAM, so the calculations, the access, everything becomes much faster. So there is no query or anything that is triggered when the users access it. So that is what sets Qlikview apart and gives a lot of flexibility for the users to do multiple analysis quickly, rather than clicking on something and waiting for it to pop up. The publisher is the second component which enables you to do advanced scheduling. The Qlikview server also has minimum scheduling, but more advanced is done by the publisher. It can also send out emails, and coupled with a PDF writer, can send out static PDF reports to multiple people through emails. Both of them are managed by a browser control, Qlikview Management Console, and the entire Qlikview server and publisher is integrated to your any of the client's existing security services. Like if they have an Active Directory, you connect to the Active Directory and use the same thing for authentication, or any other third-party security integration service. The whole thing can be controlled by the Qlikview web server, which has the server itself has a Qlikview web server which can manage the hosting. In case you have if the client has Windows IIS, they can deploy it using IIS. The business users are anybody, the business analysts, the executive head, CEOs, or the managers, anybody can be business users. Now the documents that I'm referring to, for finance you create one document, for HR you create one, under finance if you have AR, AP, you create separate documents based on the requirements and based on the depth of analysis required. Now all this is done by the data analyst or the business analyst. So why both are required, data analyst or business analyst? Is a data analyst understands data from the systems, so he can connect, he can create, extract data, he can point, get the data. And a business analyst understands the requirements from the business users, so he can translate it into visualization. So either you can work with two separate heads or two separate people, or generally a Qlikview developer is both. A Qlikview developer is kind of a techno-functional kind of a role, where you also understand the business requirements, you also understand the data, right? So you create one whole Qlikview application. But now, what I understand is all these big companies segregate or divide the work. So they put the data analyst just to extract data, model data in Qlikview, and they put the more business analyst kind of people who are with the business users as the designers for it, so that you can have more defined roles. So that is what the Qlikview developer is all about. So you develop it and you push the QEW file. So when you develop, the output is basically the QEW files. So these QEW files contain data in it, and you push these files to the Qlikview server, which go to the RAM of the server, and from there the user can access it. Development lifecycle is...
I have a question here.
Yeah.
Can you just go back to the previous slide? So here you mentioned that data extraction takes place from the different disparate systems, right?
Right.
So the data that is collected is actually stored in QED files.
QEW. We'll come to QEW. QEWs.
Okay. So because there are two files there, so I was wondering which one actually stores the data that is extracted, and then what is the difference between QED and QEW?
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But for now, the concept is basically from the database, the QEW file extracts the data, connects to the database, extracts the data, and also contains the analysis. So all the graphs, all the charts, all the visualization dashboard is built in the QEW. So the main file is QEW file. So we'll talk about QED later, what it is. But the main file is QEW. This is the file that you put on the server, and that is the file that users access.
Okay, the second question that I want to ask here is, like you said, you develop these files and put them onto the server. So is it something like you actually develop these files on the client interface and then you push to the server, or everything happens in the server, the development part?
It depends on the requirement. So I'll tell you. But the development happens on the client. Client is a desktop client which is available online. So if you have gone to qlikview.com, they would have given you a personal edition client. So that is a full-fledged professional client that you're going to use for development. But they have given it free of cost for personal use. So you can create n number of documents and consume it. You can connect to various databases. There is absolutely no limitation. you can do it. But what you can't do is you can't share the document with anyone. Neither you have the server to upload the document. So unless you have a license, you will not be able to view any other document created by any other user. So you can view all your documents that you have created. So that is the difference between personal edition, but that is what is required for development.
Okay. So in this evaluation version which you just spoke about, I can actually do all the visualization, right? Mm-hmm. Do all the R&D that I need to do.
Exactly. It's a full-fledged version. Personal edition is a full-fledged version. It's not even an evaluation version. It's like a personal full-fledged edition.
Okay.
You just update the license key that only enables you to view other documents created by other users.
Okay.
And I have a question. Sorry there.
Yeah.
Sorry. I have a question. So in this slide you mentioned that the data sources can be Excel, SQL, SAP, and so forth. Because I work for one of the telcos in Australia, which is one of the biggest telco, we do have some data from the internet web pages. Is there any feasibility that we can import those data and put it in the visualization format?
Yeah, it can connect to as I said, it can connect to multiple data sources as well as the web services. I mean, even the website.
And
maybe I'll demonstrate.
And thanks. And to be honest with you, I tried myself. I'm one of the developers that tried in Qlikview, but for some reason it doesn't allow every feature. So can we extract the specific data out of that HTML table? Does Qlikview allow that?
Okay. I mean, a specific table in the sense.
Okay, the web page is having multiple tables, so I don't need all the data on the page, but I do need a section of data and to do my analysis or to produce charts or anything like that.
Let's do one thing. I have 2 more slides to go from this presentation. Let me just cover this and I'll go to the desktop client and I'll demonstrate that for you.
Yeah, thank you.
So the development cycle is basically the Qlikview developer or the desktop client is what you get licensed to. Even when you're working for a project, you basically get a license for that. You create the content, you connect to various data sources, create all the files, structure it and push the QEW to the server. All the connections and all are still content or there in the QEW file exist. So when you push it to the server manages the automatic refreshes, the reloads, everything on every day, and publisher definitely helps it. And when it goes to the run, so the users connect to the access point. It's called as Qlikview access point for the server, where all the applications or the visualizations are available. So whoever has access, when a user logs in, whichever user has access to the particular document, he'll be able to view that document and basically consume the content. So that's the development lifecycle. So technically there are 3 kinds of developments over here. One is, 3 kinds of job roles basically. One is IT team who does the installation, data connection and all the administration process. One is the developer who might term it as a data analyst kind of a person who understands data, gets the data, models it. So there's a fair bit of modeling required in Qlikview, but not the hardcore data warehousing modeling that I'm referring to. Normal Qlikview modeling. He does that because he understands the data, right? And a designer is a person who understands the business requirements. So if a business says, I want a particular trend, so he understands, okay, what kind of chart or anything. Traditionally, till now in Qlikview, the developer and the designer has been one person, and that is how it has been in, a lot of companies expect the same thing. But in bigger enterprise, like these SSIs, the system integrators like Capgemini, Infosys and the big companies, these roles have been divided. As developer, a person who knows data, and a designer, a person who knows business analyst. I think they wanted to bring in more control to that one. My training is involved on developer and designer, so that you learn both and you are able to accomplish both. When you even move jobs or change, the best expectation is you need to know developer and designer both. So that's my training, and the curriculum looks something like this. I need around 30 odd hours. And the method of training is every day 1 hour, 1.5 hours, in which I take you through 2 or 3 concepts. And the expectation is you practice for the rest of the time, and you come back the next day or with any doubts or questions, and we redo. If you have any questions, we redo or address it, or we move on with the new topics. We need the desktop client for the development. So, as I said, the personal edition has everything. You don't need the license. Only thing is you need a license to view documents created by me or created by anybody else. So that also sets a ground rule that whatever I demonstrate, you have to create it by yourself. That also makes you practice. Then the second thing is you would be using some databases, sample databases. I use a SQL server to demonstrate all the connectivity and extract the data or use it. So there is an Express edition available from Microsoft.com. You can download that and install it. And there is a sample database available, which is called as AdventureWorks. I'm sure you would have come across it. I use the same database, AdventureWorks, to demonstrate all the connectivities and processing of Qlikview. I will share the links when we start the training so that you can download, or if you have any, or if you can already download, have already downloaded, we can continue. In case apart from SQL, if you have any other database locally installed on your computer, you can use the same thing, and I could help you do all the processing that I demonstrate. So these are the topics for developer, and these are the topics for designer. So yeah, Ramesh is going to share it with you. In the end, once you, IT is a fairly bit different topic, so there is not, administration bit is not covered in this training. But what is covered is once you create a QEW, how do you put that to a server and give access to the users is what I would be doing in the end. So that as a developer, if they ask you to move your documents to the server and publish it, you should be able to do it. So that's about Qlikview training. Do you have any questions here?
Yeah, I actually want to ask you topics that need to be covered.
Now, these are pretty much all the topics related to the Qlikview application. Now, certification works in a little different method in Qlikview. Till now, earlier there was a different methodology of certification. Recently, they have brought in, like 2 years back, they revamped the entire certification process. It is more conceptual in nature. So once you start, this is all which is available in the tool. So there is nothing more advanced. It is only up to you how creative you get with Qlikview. So that is when you start working on it. The second part is basically the concept of data warehousing, or concept of bringing in data, concept of like how you want to, the best practices in the data concepts is what is there in the certification process. So if you have enough experience in it, then it becomes easy for you. Right. Otherwise, the recommendation is work with Qlikview for at least 1 year, 2 years, understand the concepts and then build it. But if you have already experience, then I would suggest work for 2 to 3 months using Qlikview. Convert all your concepts that you have worked with, be it SQL, be it any other data warehousing concepts. Convert all of those into Qlikview, practice them for 2 to 3 months, and then go ahead. And these are all the topics that you need. There is nothing more advanced in here that you need.
And there are some separate certifications for a Qlikview developer and designer, right? Right. They have to choose it.
Yeah. No, they are separate. I didn't get the last one. What was it?
No, I want to ask you whether they are separate. So they are separate, or they just one certification? Okay.
No, they are separate. For designer, there is separate certification. For developer, there is different certification. For developer, as I said, it's more data concepts. For designer, it's more visualizations and expectations, or how you want to do it now. Those kind of things.
Okay. Okay.
I have a license for. I have a licensed edition, so it's not going to show, it's showing me as a license. It's licensed, but when you download and install, it's going to show you as a personal. this is the instance of Qlikview. So you start with a new application. So you say new Qlikview. When you open a new application, you get a plain canvas kind of where you create all your analysis or all your charts. You can keep adding multiple sheets. So these goes into your demos or into your complete application. Now this is the QEW application that I'm referring to. First thing we always do is save the application, because unless you save it, it doesn't allow you to do reload or bring in data. So I'll just save it as first. Now before I create the charts and analysis, I need the data in the document. For data we use scripts to connect to the various databases and extract data. So you can go to File, Edit Script. So you come to the script. Scripting is no rocket science or any different. It is just modified SQL statements with more enhanced keywords and more functionality in Qlikview, which enable you to do what is difficult in SQL. So that way it is pretty simple to learn the scripting. So there is more logic that you will have to build. So you land on the main. So you can have at the bottom you have the data tab where you can connect to various sources of data. So on the left side it is all the database connectors, ODBC, OLEDB. For SAP you need a specialized connector. So if that is available, it is listed over here. For Salesforce.com you need a specialized connector. All the connectors, if you have installed it, everything will be listed over here. So once you have the listed, you just say connect and select the database, connect to the database, select the tables. I have
Sorry to
SQL
interrupt
Express
you
Edition.
there.
Yeah.
What connector we use for Oracle 10G? Is it OLEDB, right?
Yeah. For Oracle, it's ODBC or OLEDB.
For Oracle 10G, Enterprise Edition.
Yeah. So I have the SQL Express Edition installed. So I have already created a system DSN. As you know, for ODBC you need a system or a user DSN.
Yes, DSN.
I've already created that. Now I use the same thing. Say connect. The Express is what I'm talking about. I pass the credentials. Qlikview basically creates a link, a string kind of a statement over here, which is the connection string. Once this is created, I use the select option to select the tables that I want to bring into Qlikview. There is no limitation as to size of the data in a QEW. So the only limitation is the RAM of the system that can take data. So if your computer is capable enough to take large amounts of data, what I mean is if you have a very high RAM, you can load very high data. While development, just be careful that you don't overload your computer with a lot of data. So I get to select the schemas or the owners of the DB, which DB I want to point to. I'm pointing to AdventureWorks, which is there. I have a couple of other best. I have 2008, Qlikview assignment. These are the databases available on SQL Server. I picked AdventureWorks 2012, sales. I get to see all the tables under that. So I can start picking which table I want to bring in. So I'll just say sales order header, add, detail, add. So now I'll just work with 2. So I get to see what are the fields that are actually being loaded from these tables. I can modify these fields. I can drop any of the fields. Like either I can use star select, like which I'm doing over here, and bring in all the fields, or I can pick the fields that I want to bring in. Once I've done with the script, I just execute the script, or reload option is what I used. When I reload it, it connects to the database, it fetches the records. So while it is fetching, it also displays how many records it fetched and what it happened. In the background, what happened was Qlikview brought in the data and associated it, and it associated the data at the background based on the primary keys. So in a typical data warehouse or anything, you have to point or you have to create a link between those primary keys. In Qlikview, it assumes based on the common names. So if the two tables have same names of a common, of a field basically, it connects them thinking that they are the primary keys. In this case, it was the sales order ID. So when there are two keys or two columns which have the same name, so it creates a synthetic key. It is Qlikview's method of managing multiple, like having composite keys. But it is not the best practice. As we move in the training, we'll understand how to get rid of that. So it's a simple logic. Either you create a composite key and make sure you have one key, or you work with a different logic to create one key. Once this is done, your data is in the application. After this, in the front end, this is the designer part that I'm talking. So the developer part is everything that you do with this script and everything you do to model this. So over here, you generally try to model it in a star schema where you have the fact in the center and all the dimensions across the fact. So generally it doesn't work out because of the kind of data that we get from various sources. You end up making a snowflake schema. It is still okay, but you just have to be sure the links and the primary keys or associations are right. We call these as associations. So these should be right. So this is the development part. Now comes the designer part. This is what you design in the front end. You can design various charts.
I have a question.
One or three. Yeah.
How do you actually access the editor? Can you just show me that?
Okay. So you go to File, Edit Script.
Okay.
And this is where you write the script. Okay. There is another one over here. If you see on the top next to this main, something called a stable viewer. Yeah.
Right.
When you click on it, you get to see the like the data, the tables, the structure, the backend.
Okay.
So you can go to the table viewer from here also. So if you see here on the left side, on the right side basically, top side, there's this table viewer. You can directly go from here. Or
Okay. So is there a shortcut to go to editor from here?
yeah,
From this particular screen, your chart screen. Okay. Okay.
right. If you click, I just didn't want to confuse, so I took it from the file. But yeah, you have a shortcut over here.
Okay.
Or you have the shortcut Control E. Control E from here takes you to editor, or Control T takes you to the table viewer. This is called as table viewer.
Okay.
So it takes you to the table viewer.
Okay.
The shortcuts are mentioned over here. So edit script Control E, reload Control R, table viewer Control T.
Okay.
So that's for charts you can create. So everything is an object kind of a definition in Qlikview. So we are referring, what we are seeing is a sheet object. On this we place different other objects, chart objects, list box objects, all are used for different purposes in Qlikview. So now if I have to create one chart, I do a right click, new sheet object, chart. I get to pick a chart. I can define title, conditions. All these we'll see during the training. So we say next. I'll just pick a dimension. Over here dimension is territory ID is what I want to create. I'm creating a chart where I'm trying to show the order quantity based on a territory ID. So the aggregation is sum of order quantity. This is more related to Excel. If you know in Excel you get data and you start creating charts, you create those expressions or you try to create some calculations. Something similar to that, but in a more advanced method. So you're done with the chart. So let's just, this chart can be utilized for multiple purposes, like all I have to do is copy, Control C, Control V. I created a duplicate chart. Go to the backend, change the dimensions again. So territory ID, I'll use ship method ID. And instead of bar chart, I'll display a pie chart. I switch the chart. So you get the chart. Like this, I can create multiple charts, multiple other kinds of visualizations and present it. This is the overall process. Sorry.
Are you doing something that you can't do with the traditional BI tools, isn't it? the chart on the slide and submit it.
No, that is not the main point over here. The point is there's something called a set analysis in Qlikview. So if I have to tell you, yeah, I think I don't have it over here. So comparing year on year, right? Let me just put. Now in the table there is no year function. Okay, there is no year field. I just have order date, but all my calculations are based on the order date. So I can create a year function, year field, sorry, not a function.
Are there any widely publicized books or sort of a quick reader on the common use functions and other things for Qlikview?
Yeah, I mean again the books are more descriptive. It more looks like the reference manual of Qlikview only. The only thing is they have some examples for it, but there is no quick reference kind of a thing. So you get to know it. Basically my curriculum includes all of it. If you want to start working, how quickly?
Sorry to interrupt you there. If there is multiple tables with multiple references, can we write the similar code that we write in SQL?
So you said query is the business. You can do whatever you can SQL, but no, little complicated. So
because most of the databases that my company uses,
all those complications are
the more complicated one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's one.
We write a complex query. Yeah, one of the databases that my company uses have around 2,000 tables. So if I need some value where I need to reference at least 18-20 tables.
Right.
So
that's where it's coming from.
Can I still perform that in Qlikview?
Right. You can do that. Now, when you have to bring in some data, you want a final output of one table, and you refer to 18 tables.
Yeah.
In Qlikview, you don't have to actually write a very complex query to do that. You load all the 18 tables in Qlikview, and they get associated based on the primary keys. Now, what do you do in a SQL query is you join those tables based on these keys, right? And you fetch data. Maybe you do a left join or an outer join or anything. In Qlikview, you don't have to do it. Just load the tables similar to what I've done now. Or here I've loaded only 2 tables. You load all the 18 tables, associate them appropriately using the keys, or you can still do the left join, right join, just to make sure to reduce data and bring in the valid data and perform your analysis on the front end, as like what I'm doing now.
Okay, and just one last question, because the database that I want to mine is refreshed half an hour basis of 30 minutes. Can I set any intervals in Qlikview so that it refreshes accordingly?
Exactly. So faster, it basically depends on the data, how fast it gets refreshed from the database. So you can set it as close as 10 minutes.
Okay, and there's one more thing. So if I want to build an Qlikview application for a live data, that means to say that there is another host application which keeps interacting with the database, but I want to give a visualization format for one of the analysts or someone else. Can I still build an application in Qlikview which enables the view that you're showing right now, like that, but the data is taken live from the backend?
No, you can get, as I said, near real time, but not exactly real time. So you can, it depends on how fast Qlikview application refreshes data from the data source. If your data is very huge, it's taking half an hour to reload from the data source. So then you will get the data every half an hour. The analyst can get every half an hour. So you will not be able to get the real-time data that you are referring to.
Okay, but as my previous question was, if I get the data from the web page, can that refreshes on a regular basis from that web page?
Yeah, you can set it for every 5-10 minutes, because again it depends on how big data you're bringing from the web page. So let's just try this table.
Like the one, like for example, the table which you're showing at the moment from Wikipedia, it would be that big, but the thing is, the table that I wanted to import in Qlikview will have, merge of the rows and stuff. It's not an exact table, but it is a table, but some columns are merged, some rows are merged and stuff. So can I still pick and match only the data that I require?
Yeah, you can do it. It's more about conceptualizing and building it in the script. So the script allows you to build logics. So whatever logics you build in a normal environment, you will have to put those logics over here.
Okay, can you actually import a particular table from the page?
Yeah, I will do it. 1 second. The demonstration.
Sorry to interrupt you there again. Actually, to be honest with you, I'm working on one of the projects in Qlikview that I want to start with. So do you provide some sort of support if required for me if I stuck somewhere along the way with the course?
Yeah. During the course, if you are working on any projects or you have any business scenarios, you can definitely discuss that during the training.
Yeah, because the moment I join the training, I will start the project as well, so that's why.
Okay. Right, we can do that. What I'm trying to show is the difference between a traditional BI and what Qlikview is for is basically there's something called a set analysis. Is what I wrote. The comparison of current year versus previous year. So in a in a traditional BI environment, you end up writing a query to fetch both the years separately, then put that up and compare it. So in Qlikview, you don't have to do the querying bit and all the challenging bit for it. So you can just use set analysis and write from the data, create the views. So basically, so this is as simple as this in Qlikview. So if you have to achieve this in a traditional environment, you end up writing a query for current year, you end up writing a query for previous year, or like a more traditional, you write these cubes which store the data separately. From the cubes, you try to get the aggregated data. Now it's pretty simple over here for the user also to switch between the dimensions too. You don't really have to stick to data ID. Just remove it based on a customer or a product. You can bring out the differences, anything. So maybe I'll just use special offer ID. How is it doing? So that's the power of Qlikview. So if you ask me what difference between credit, it allows you to bring just one data from different. Yeah.
So just one more thing is, I'm very new to the BI. I'm an analyst developer, so I know Java and programming languages very less in terms of BI. I have to write SQL queries. I never worked with any of the BIs or data warehousing concepts. I know the concepts, but as I studied in my subjects in my uni, but I haven't worked with one. So I'm just a beginner to all these concepts of BI and data warehousing.
Yeah. So during the training,
but I do have a concept for the project that I'm working on. So, and I found that the Qlikview is the best tool to do that. That's why I'm here to learn.
Okay. That's nice. Yeah, so you can also connect to multiple data sources. You can have one page for all the scripts, so you can have multiple tabs for code management basically. And to connect to data from the website, you need web files. It's the internet file.
So you actually going to load everything in that page?
No. So I say next. It will bring out the option for me to pick the tables from the web page. So I have over here it lists every table on the page as different tables, right? So I pick the table that I want to load. In the web page, the first table is the year of production. This is the first table. Second table is this one, the motor vehicle. This top 20, I think, units. Third is, I think the previous. Okay, the fourth is the rank. This one. Right. So when you load the data from the table file or from the HTML file, whatever tables available on that HTML are divided as the table name numbers. So I pick the first table. I need year, production, change, source, finish. So I'm done with it. Now if I want the table 4, right? So I can use the same script. I can do it again. Pick it from the website. I say next. It will give me the option to pick the table. So that's how you do it basically.
How does Qlikview define the boundaries for a particular table? Because in some websites or web pages that may not be very apparent. So is there a way that you can actually...
Okay, I don't really understand that in-depth knowledge of HTML, but as far as I understand, all those are defined. So unless you use just textual representation in HTML, but all these things are tables and all are defined. So you need to define the tables. So it reads the HTML code basically.
Okay.
Now what it is referring to is the HTML code of the page. So that is where it is understanding these are the tables that are listed.
Okay, in cases like Vishwas pointed out, some tables are not appropriately structured. There's a difference the way they are modeled. So what do you do in those cases? How do you actually go about modifying the query for extraction? So any provisions that we can do.
So you learn the pattern of the table and you try to code to manage those patterns. So if you have blanks in between or if you want to change some data, you just try to do it how you do it in SQL. Whatever you do in SQL is what you end up doing over here to modify that kind of, to handle that kind of data. So motor vehicle production units, so you just place in a if condition. If this is blank, if E is null.
Not these kinds. I will suppose like in the table that we are trying to extract, it's probably an organized table. It has well-defined columns and rows. Sometimes what happens is the structures are different. Are you able to query what I'm saying? So in that particular case, the reading pattern probably there has to be change in the way it reads from the website, right? So how do you actually modify that? Do you modify the SQL code there, or probably you'll have to write something else, probably the C hash behind this, which actually goes and pinpoints where exactly data is there and extracted. Or whatever scripting that needs to be done is done only in the Qlikview SQL.
My understanding, everything is done, whatever is done in here. But I have not encountered that kind of a scenario where your table is like when most rows are merged column. So then I'll have to figure out how exactly to do it. Yeah, I don't have an immediate answer for it.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you there again. I've tried myself using the Qlikview just to get my hands on. For some reason, if the table has the 0 values, it doesn't pick it up. As the column, as the rows, it skips and it summates, it aggregates it rather than displaying that as a different rows. For example, this chart that you're showing on the screen, if it's having the 0 values, the Qlikview didn't pick up any as them as individual values. For example, you have zeros and question marks in there. It doesn't pick up those values or it drops them off. If you have like 4 columns in which you have 10 rows and 4 rows have zeros, it doesn't pick it up. But for some reason, if I want to display it as the data come from the web page, can I still do that?
Okay, I haven't encountered something like that. Maybe I have to do a trial and error. Is it a public web page that you are referring to that we can see now?
No, it's we do have our companies having a website which updates automatically from the database because we do maintain a very big database. So what happens is there is a group which publishes this page with aggregated values. And that values are not user friendly. So what I'm trying to do is build an application which enables the analyst to analyze the data in more visual format rather than reading the value. Like this one, for example, which is called answer.
So here it looks, yeah. Yeah, it has something to do with the column name. But yeah, it will pick it up. So maybe a little bit of tweaking is required. So I'm also not sure. We'll have to do a little bit of R&D for this.
I actually had a question with respect to data loading here. Now you're actually writing scripts to load different tables, right? Now,
Right.
can you actually store this? Like for example, like a queue sequence procedure, and then schedule it so that it runs in a periodic interval. Is it something like that we actually do in Qlikview?
Right, this is the file which has the script and you put this onto the server. So you want fresh data, the server executes this file. So it executes the script. So you don't have to store it and schedule it. It automatically gets scheduled on the server. So the entire file is reloaded. So the concept in Qlikview is, the data goes into the RAM, right?
Right.
Now the data in the RAM has to be refreshed. The new data has to be pushed to the RAM. So there's no way that you can do an incremental to the RAM. What you do is you refresh the entire data. You drop whatever is there in the RAM. You again connect to the database, extract everything. Now but there is a different incremental concept in Qlikview which enables you to do faster reloads to the RAM. That we'll understand as we move forward. But yeah, for that you don't have to do a store procedure and all. It definitely gets refreshed.
So you will say once if we actually create this extraction query, it actually gets recorded to the server and it stays there. That is persistent. So every time that table is to be loaded, it goes back to this query and reloads it.
Right. So this is okay. Not like that. Now this is the query that I've created, right? So I saved it. I saved all the aggregations. I've created everything. I close this file. Now this file sits on my desktop. I think yeah, it's here. I put this file to the server, and all the server manages to reload this. What reload it does is every time it automatically hits this reload option, which refreshes the data in the application. So it comes to the database, extracts the data, and brings it. I think this one is not working because of the column name, but yeah, it brings in the fresh data.
Actually, the screen is stuck. I'm only able to see this web page.
Okay, web page. Okay, now
Yeah.
what I was telling was this QEW file is on my desktop. This
Right.
demo file is what we place it on the server, and that is what the
Okay.
server manages it. It reloads it,
Okay.
it keeps on refreshing on the frequency that we set. So if I say that refresh this data every 5 minutes, it will connect to the
File. Say we are extracting about 25 tables to build a Qlikview application. So all the scripts which we actually write there, so we can actually go back to those and it will do the required load according to the scripts. Okay.
right. Yeah, the web page thing we'll have to do a little bit of R&D for it to fix it. Now, if you have blanks and columns that are not aligned or sorted, so we'll have to figure out how to manage that. I don't have a really quick answer for that. Okay, these are pretty much all the things for the demo. You want to see anything else or any other questions?
Yeah. From your experience, have you actually seen any custom coding being done? Because at the end of the day, every tool has some of their own limitations, right? Even to the most advanced extraction tool or BI tool, does require some scripting. For example, if you want to do some automation task in Cosmos, you probably will have to write some J2EE scripts. So that kind of stuff. So that way, does Qlikview have a mechanism through which you can customize them? Or have you seen scenarios which would require custom coding for Qlikview applications?
No, most of it is involved in Qlikview application, so there's nothing that specifically we needed custom coding for it. But yeah, for you get these extensions, objects for creating maps and all, which allow you to do map and few other visualizations if you want advanced visualization. Those are called as extension objects. Those come as installable options from various vendors. There are barely few of them are available free of cost, few of them are licensed. You just install them on your machine and they are good to go. They come as this chart object, like just use how I place the chart object. You can use the extension object and place it over there.
Yeah, regarding the maps, you're referring to the spatial presentations, right? Spatial map. So, are we going to have any demo for that in this particular classes?
Yeah, during the class I will show you how to use the Google Maps. That spatial maps, everything are, as I said, those are extension objects. Those are licensed extension objects from a third party. So unless your organization is willing to buy those licenses, then you will not be able to use it. So what I would show is how you use Google APIs to create the maps.
Okay. But I've seen certain reports actually, which kind of presented the map of Australia and different metrics on the map. Right. Are we referring to the same thing here?
Yeah, I'm referring to the same thing. So few of them, as I said, there's Google API that you can use free of cost. You can use that and create maps without any cost. The other advanced maps that you find online are all licensed by different providers, service providers. So basically I don't have those licenses to demonstrate during the training. So what I can show you is the Google.
Okay.
Just one more last question. I missed the first part of the this session. Do you cover creating dashboards as well?
No, I mean, not as in like the helping you design and all. Basically, I'll let you know how to create these charts and how to place them.
Yes. I just meant was, do you cover creating a dashboard and manipulating with it in this course?
Exactly. So I would show you all the charts, right? These are the things that you use to create a dashboard.
Yeah.
I'll show you that. Yeah.
Okay.
Ajay, I had a question. Please, you shall go ahead.
And I have one more question. I think your Qlikview do have certain like a filter sort of thing where you can select the minimum value, maximum value, and the chart changes automatically. Do you cover those concepts as well?
Right. Those are all designer concepts. So these are all design functionality. So we do that in the.
And you will cover them.
Yeah. So
And for example, for this chart, you have different areas, and you create a drop-down box, and where you select the area, and the chart changes. And you do cover those concepts too, I guess.
Yeah, all those things are all the objects that we use. So basically, as I said, right, it's object-based everything. So you just there's no. So it is called as list box. You just format it. So you pick the list box. Right. So all these things are covered in the designer. So if you look at the designer, the list box, the chart, the current selections. So technically over here you put in all those range selections or anything. Yeah. All these things are covered.
So technically you give us the foundation to start using and playing with Qlikview.
Yep.
Thanks.
I guess pretty much. Yeah, there's another thing. Have you done scorecarding before? Is there a concept called scorecarding here in Qlikview?
Right. Yeah. So it is a matter of how you design your dashboard for the scorecards. Scorecards is basically you do the processing of data, and you find out the scores and display them. So in Qlik you don't have to do the processing and all. You just load the tables. And in the UI, so this is what the designer part is what we call as UI. So over here you create those scorecard KPIs and try to display them.
Okay. Okay, fine. I guess those are the designer-centric things. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just heard it. Also, probably, like I said before, in the class, we're actually looking for a certification as well. So we actually recommend, reading it simultaneously, going about certification calculum. Because in my case, I kind of, want to get into the BI stream. And obviously, see, thing is, because I'm a system integrator, system integrator, thing is, once you spend enough time in one block, say data warehousing, so there is a push to continue in the same, right?
Right.
So it's just that, if I have certification, I can always get into different projects. So that's the whole idea of enrolling here. Alright, the certification one of you are looking at, so you do cover all the concepts and certification, but we have not yet gone through. So this is the first pretty much sort of introductory class for me. Just everyone download the software and also follow the curriculum. So if I have any doubt on the field, probably I'll just ask you towards the end of the classes.
Definitely, you can do that. Yeah.
Okay.